was brutal. Holy hell. I laid in bed and felt waves of pity engulf me. I realized I was free-falling toward 40, and I was not who I imagined I would be. Who was the person in the mirror with a hint of gray roots, time for a touch-up, looking back? I wandered around for weeks, not knowing why I felt as if I would burst into tears any minute. It was more than hormones. What was wrong with me? I was married, I had 2 great kids, a nice house, a good job. What the hell? Kept thinking of the line by Thoreau, most men lead lives of quiet desperation. The experts say make a list of all the good and the bad in your life, and as long as the good list is better, you're golden. My list revealed a struggling discovery. I did not appear on either the good or the bad list. My husband and children and their accomplishments appeared, but not mine. I kept a great house, worked hard at my job, made every soccer game and football game my children played in, although thank God I never went to the dark side and bought a minivan. I supported my husband as he advanced in his job and even took on the role of groupie when his band played. But I was not on my own list. My husband and I met when we were 15 in high school and married when we were 24. I was passionate. I was the radical kid. I was going to change the world, make things better for people. I wrote letters for Amnesty International demanding the release of political prisoners, back on paper and pen and put a stamp on it. I went to rallies and spoke openly and loudly for the abolition of apartheid in South Africa. When Nelson Mandela was released from prison after nearly 3 decades, my brother and I drove to LA and heard him speak his words of reconciliation to 73,000 people. I was suspended from high school for an editorial I wrote about the lack of the First Amendment rights for our school newspaper. My childhood friends were all from all novels. Elizabeth Bennet, Joe Marsh, Fanny Price. I thought about the last time I felt like I was in my own skin. I was in school. School was just mine. It was something I did for me. I didn't do it for my husband or my kids or even my employer. I made a decision and I registered that same week for 2 classes at Grossmont College. It was there, with the help of an inspirational professor, that I found my voice again and made my way back onto my own list. It was as if I was taking a deep breath for the first time in years. My lungs filled up with the possibilities laid before me. In the spring of 2008, I graduated from Grossmont College with an AA in English. I was 42 years old and I was just beginning. In the fall of 2009, I walked onto the campus of SDSU under the transfer orientation banner. It scanned the buildings in the Aztec Center. It read, "Welcome Class of 2011. I stopped under it, taking a moment to let the words sink into my soul. I stared and savored how beautiful that sign was. My throat tightened and my eyes began to well up with tears. How is it possible that this one sentence represents hundreds of hours of study, nights or rather early mornings with little or no sleep, and desperate bouts of parental guilt from the missed parent night or the good night kiss that I was too late for? It was a beautiful sign. I continued up the ramp to Montezuma Hall, where new student orientation was beginning. The orientation would house 3,900 kids, their parents, and me. Since I went back to Grossmont, every time I had driven past that campus above on the hill on the highway, I had proclaimed, I will go there, I will make it. At times, its presence motivated me to dig deeper, take more classes, study longer. It almost dared me to succeed. At other times, the Spanish-style buildings seemed to be looking down on me and mocking my past failures. Dropping out of college when I was younger and losing myself along the way, I had finally won. I was now a student at SDSU. The inside of Montezuma Hall resembles an old movie theater that has seen better days. The chairs were arranged in colleges. The College of Arts and Letters, mine, was in the far south corner. I moved to an outside chair, looked around, and realized I was the only one without a parent, although I shared an age bracket with them. I began to feel a little intimidated, perhaps even pathetic. There did not seem to be any other late bloomers in attendance. By the looks of the kids around me, I graduated high school before they were born. I smiled to myself and thought of what I looked like. I thought of myself as what I had looked like fresh out of high school, with my cool 80s perm and my teal dittos. What the hell was I thinking? The president of the college walked to the podium and gave a short welcome speech. He shared with us the average grade point average of the incoming students and congratulated us on being accepted. The head of the campus police came next. We were all asked to program his phone number into our cell phones. He then started to caution us about the dangers of campus life. The list was long. Do not walk alone in the dark. Be aware of your surroundings. Be smart. His lecture moved on to parties. How to be safe at fraternity parties. He continued by urging the use of condoms. Ladies, do not rely on the male to be responsible. I caught myself laughing out loud. The young 20-something girl next to me, her mother turned and stared at me, and the mother hissed, "What is that mom laughing about?" She was no doubt trying to figure out what part of the warning was funny and how I must be a bad mother. I was 42 years old, had been married 18 years, had 2 children. Really? Condoms? When I was these kids' age, my husband and I, we weren't married yet, we were living in sin. We lived in a salmon-colored duplex on El Cajon Boulevard in Swift. We shared a car. Date night was anywhere there was free buffet for happy hour. We smoked pot in our living room because we could, of course leaving the bong on the coffee table. And we waved each night when we returned home to the same hooker, Betty, who stood on our corner and often took Johns to the area under our stairs. After a chat with her, she did stop leaving the used rubbers behind. The lecture got better. We were warned to not take drinks at parties from people we did not know. Wow, I could not remember the last time someone I did not know offered me a drink. I could not even remember the last time I was at a party with people I did not know. He continued, underage drinking would not be tolerated. Shit, I had not had a drink illegally in 20 years. This is going to be more awkward than I thought. The dean patiently continued his prepared, no doubt tedious for him, speech. It is very important to get involved. Join a club, pledge a house. I began to feel a little sad. Take a deep breath and let it out silently. I let myself imagine what it would have been like to be here young. Somehow I kind of felt she did. College was something we mentioned in our home, but it was never stressed. My brother was the first in our family to graduate from college. Getting a job and taking care of ourselves was our parents' main goal. Perhaps I would have lived in a dorm, joined a club, stayed involved with social issues, gone to rallies. With passion and drive of youth, I might even have studied abroad for a semester. In reality, there would only be time for classes and studying. After all, I was a wife, a mother, a daughter, with a job and responsibilities. I admit there was a moment or two of melancholy for what might have been. I remembered when I was young, I was going to be a famous war correspondent living in New York. Our group of English complet majors meandered around campus on the tour with our student guide. We ended up at the Arts and Letters building and had an intimate meeting with the dean of the department. I realized these were the faces of those that I would know and rely on. We were all in the same boat, regardless of age. We would all bring something to the conversation. We would help each other. The dean stood up in front of us. Welcome, you lovers of learning and literature. The beginning scene from the movie of the Dead Poets Society flashed before me, and I fought the urge to stand on the desk and shout, "Oh, Captain, my Captain." As the welcome speech continued, I gazed out the window at the cars speeding on the highway below. I would no longer gaze up at the SDSU buildings on the hill and tell myself, someday, because my someday was today.